All right. How we doing? You feeling
Very well.
okay?
How about yourself today?
Good, good. You got some water there. You're comfortable?
Thank you. Yes.
All right. So, Mayor Joshua Garcia, to my right, I have our Personnel Director, Kelly Curran, and Police Chief Keenan. And I think you followed previous, you might have followed along our process when doing these open public interviews. Traditionally, as you might be aware, the mayor has the appointing authority for the folks that are coming on as officers and as well as being promoted up in rank.
Yes, sir.
But it's all really managed and controlled under civil service. And to keep it open and transparent this way, it's great because this will be live on the public access channel and people can observe and watch from home or whatever the case might be.
Absolutely.
It allows people to get to know how the process works. There's always this feeling like the mayor is just going to appoint, somebody they might know or, but really it's the order of that list. And you're aware, I think you're number one on the list currently.
Correct.
Yeah. So civil service, we appoint by the order of the list unless there's a reason to bypass candidates. And so this, again, gives an opportunity for people to understand that process, but more importantly, for me, they get to know the candidate that's being, so it helps humanize people. It gets people to know who the sergeants and who's being appointed as lieutenant, who's appointed as captain, even chief.
Correct.
Went through the process as well when he came on board as a chief. It really helps give ownership and more, makes it personable for people to know who's keeping the watch in our community and keeping them safe and so forth. And so how well you interview doesn't really dictate if whether or not you'll get the job. We'll still follow the order of the list. But also, it gives us a good opportunity to kind of evaluate and review and even helps for your own professional growth as well. As you formulate your answers to some of these things, kind of helps establish an expectation. So when you take on this leadership role, it's building you up to be ready to hit the ground running in a direction forward and how you want to lead as Sergeant the Holyoke Police Department.
Absolutely.
But as far as the process is concerned and what we're doing here, do you have any questions for us?
I do not.
We're going to ask you, we've got a list of questions here. I'll go first. I think Kelly will go next, or we'll go clockwise. Chief will ask the second question, whichever one wants to go next. And we're going to rate them accordingly. But before we do that, Chief, did you want to kind of give a short bio or introduction?
Sure. Turn on your mic, Chief.
And make sure your mic's on, too.
Detective Boyle became a dispatcher in 1995, reserve officer in 2006, and a full-time officer in 2010. He's currently assigned to the Narcotics Bureau and the DEA Task Force on the day shift. He has zero disciplinary record during his time in the Holyoke Police Department. Received the commendation for saving a life in 2019, and had 6 letters of appreciation. His sick time record is he hasn't had a sick day in 5 years. No time, he's been out injured on duty throughout his career, and he has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice.
Chief, just if you can tell us, in your observation and investigate, any reason why we should be bypassing Brendan Boyle?
No.
Okay. Officer Boyle, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? In your words, what qualifications, experience do you have that will make you successful in this career, the Holyoke Police Department in the city of Holyoke?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I've been a police officer since 2006, full-time since 2010. For the past 12 years, I have been assigned as a detective, not only in narcotics, but with criminal investigations. The past 6.5 years, I've been a task force officer with the Drug Enforcement Administration. Throughout my career, as the chief alluded to, I've had numerous instances and circumstances of dealing with quick judgments to make, whether it's life-saving, whether it's acting on violence. So again, with the city of Holyoke, being a police officer for this long and obtaining this kind of experience, there's a lot of times where you need to make quick, decisive decisions without a supervisor on scene. I've had to make those decisions over the years. And especially with being a detective, we do kind of control our own investigative measures. We kind of become the leader of that case, especially with the DEA. Any investigation that I had ongoing, I would be the lead. I'd be the case agent. I would make the determination of what steps to follow, how the investigation leads, even when it comes to how it's prosecuted, talking with the attorneys about how that's done. So I've been very, very lucky to be able to work for the city and be able to have those different circumstances where you had to always think on your feet and make decisive decisions.
Thank you.
Sure. Detective Boyle, based on your experience in your current position, what two improvements would you make? What would you do and why?
In regards to the shift or the department?
The department.
I'm sorry?
The department.
Department, thank you. Again, I think having the ability for everyone to have a chance to utilize their skills. I've always been more of a proactive approach to law enforcement versus reactive. I think giving people the ability to show their skill set is very important. I think we're in a very lucky spot in the city where we have motor vehicle traffic grants, we have gang suppression grants, we have the ability now to have patrolmen come up as on-call detectives to learn that side of things. I think we're moving in the right step with that. I think really letting people hone their own skills, letting them do their things on the street is a big one. And just again, letting the officers really get to know themselves and give them the opportunities to get out there and really encourage them to utilize their skill set is one of the huge things that I would change. Keep going with the department.
Did you say two?
Oh, two things?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Secondly, it's not really a department issue. I think it's more of a civil service issue. I think, again, this needs the promotional aspect of making promotions, like I said, not with the department, but with civil service, is the ability to really have people have experience first, then take an exam, then go through the process of interviews, a multifaceted approach. But that's pretty much the department itself has been evolving over the years. I think since I've even been on the job, it's been moving towards better. You can't police the same way as you can back in the 70s. You got to update it and do what's current with 2025. So again, I think the whole inclusion of having everyone be able to partake in things and giving them the chance is a huge step in the right direction.
Detective Boyle, what are the biggest challenges to policing currently, and how would you address them in your command?
I think that the most difficult is encouraging young officers to make good decisions and really spending time with them, getting to know them. I think a more personalized approach to supervision is huge. I think getting to know the people that you work with dictates how your shift is going to go. Some people have young kids. Some people have elderly parents. That again, family is number one to all of us. So personalizing an officer that's under your control and supervision, I think, is getting to know them and really moving forward to understand what they're going through for that day. So again, I would like to see more of a personalized approach to supervising.
What do you think is the biggest professional responsibility between police patrol?
Officer. Officer should have been in there.
Huh?
Patrol officer.
Oh, okay. What do you think is the biggest professional responsibility between police patrol and You said
Officer,
officer.
supervisor, right. Patrol officer?
Patrol officer.
Oh,
Yeah.
is there a word missing?
Yeah, yeah.
Between police patrol officer and supervisor as sergeant is in how have you prepared yourself for more decision-making?
Well, again, you are, as a patrol supervisor, you're you're basically supervising 10 to 12 guys a shift versus patrolling, supervising your own self while you're alone in your cruiser. As a supervisor, it's their responsibility to make sure that they're making correct decisions. You don't want to be overbearing, but you do need to make sure that they are making correct decisions, and you're there to help them if they have questions. Again, going back to my experience for the past 12 years as a detective and task force officer, I've had to make many decisions without a supervisor there that was for the betterment of public safety. So again, that's something that I think is huge.
One of the top priorities of Mayor Garcia's administration is to implement DEI strategies and best practices citywide. Please tell us what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you. How can you support this initiative within the police department?
Again, going back to what I said earlier, I think we've been very lucky with the city is in that we've always born and raised here. We've always had access to diversity. And growing up with that, it's been, again, very special to have people that, of different race, creed, genders, sexuality. When you become a police officer, we throw all that out the window. We become one, and we become a family. And our main goal is to protect and serve the city of Holyoke. I think when we all become a family here at the police department, doesn't matter what race, creed, sex you are, it's your skill set. And you want the opportunity for everybody to have the opportunity to show that skill set, and based off that skill set, have the opportunity to flourish in that way. For example, myself as a detective, even with certain investigative things, I love doing the drug stuff. I love being proactive. I'm a sexual assault investigator. It just eats me up having to do with any kind of child sexual assaults. That's not meant for me. So I think, again, you get someone in a position where they're allowed to utilize their skills and their strengths and weaknesses, and you let people build off of those. But you need to give everyone that opportunity to do so.
Detective, as a supervisor in the Hoyok Police Department, how will you handle the change in your professional and personal life?
It's going to be a tough one. For the past 12 years, I've been in plain clothes. I've been a detective. Handled some very high-profile cases. But when I explained to my 7-year-old daughter that I'm going to be transitioning, hopefully, she began to cry, and she didn't like the fact that I had, go from back from regular clothing to uniforms. But when I explained to her, Daddy's not going to have 3 cell phones anymore. Daddy's not going to have 2 computers anymore. Dad's going to be around more often. So whatever changes happen, whether it's mid shift or eventually coming back to day shift in a narcotic role at some point in my career, I look forward to the change. I think it's going to be good for myself to readjust and see things in a different light. So I'm looking forward to that.
Chief, did you want to elaborate or anything? Because I know the
So
question.
to that point, what do you think the biggest difference between a supervisor and a patrol officer is? Because the biggest jump, the most important position in the police department is the sergeant rank. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's what enforces the rules, the regulations. That's what governs what goes on in the street and the conduct that's allowed in the station. So what do you think the biggest difference is professionally? So what mindset are you going to have to shift is probably a better way of asking, as a supervisor as opposed to a patrolman?
Biggest thing is personality. interaction. As a supervisor, someone maybe your best friend that you work with on the street, and it comes to a point where you have to discipline them or instruct them in a different way, that's going to be tough. I think it's shown through my career. I get along with pretty much everybody in our police department. I've never had any instances of any issues with anybody. So I think kind of acting as a supervisor role will be a little bit maybe easier for me, because I have worked overtime shifts on patrol where the young kids have come up and said, hey, can you show me how to do X, Y, and Z? Can you show me how to maybe talk a little bit differently on a motor vehicle stop? Can you show me how to do a property check a little bit differently? So I've already had that kind of interaction with them. But again, I think it comes down to having the personality of being a supervisor and not being someone's best friend in patrol.
Thank you.
Go back to me. To me.
Okay, I just.
Another administrative priority of mine is to create a system of accountability and professional development, which includes implementing performance evals. If you were to take on this role, how can you evaluate individual officers and the department as a whole? Explain how do you go about creating a culture of accountability within the department?
Great question. Number one, I think, again, you need to focus on the person's personality skills and their strengths and weaknesses. Big thing of that is, in order to get those skills and weaknesses, first of all, you have to show up to work. You can't be calling in sick every Saturday. You can't be, on a holiday calling in sick and basically forcing somebody else to have to work your shift because you don't feel like coming into work. If you're assigned a cruiser, you need to be down patrolling. You can't be sitting behind a building all night. So again, encouraging people to get out there, be more proactive, engaging with the community is one of the skills that they should have. Again, showing up to work on time, having them do, recognize people coming in and giving an attaboy, citizens coming in and saying, hey, Detective Boyle was great today. I really appreciate that. Well, acknowledge that to the officer. I think encouraging people, not so much of a reward program, but encouragement for these guys. Maybe if they're doing a good job, you say, what cruiser would you like tomorrow night? Encouraging that. On the flip side, as a supervisor with the accountability is, again, when people are showing some issues of calling in sick, forcing guys to work for them, got to have that sit-down talk and say, hey, what's going on at home? Is there something going on? Can we work around something? Can we help you out on this? So I think it's a great idea to have an accountability measure. I think guys would be receptive to that. They're willing to learn. And it's about encouragement and telling them what's right and also giving suggestions how to fix their wrongs.
Okay. From your years of experience working the HPD, what are some of the management workplace challenges and how would you go about overcoming / solving these changes?
Staffing. Staffing's number one is huge. Again, that's out of my hands as a supervisor, but how do you manage people that have been forced to work 2 or 3 times in their workload? Is it working with the unions on how to maybe decrease overtime, given their input, given your input on how it's affecting your shift? But again, staffing is huge. If we don't have enough guys, people are going to be overworked, they're going to be overtired, they're going to be wanting to call out sick. And again, it's not a sergeant spot, but again, at least you can give your input of what guys are feeling to give it to the lieutenant to move up the chain.
Can you describe the relationship that should exist between the sergeant and those reporting to you? What experience do you have in leading a team of people?
Number one, I think you need experience. I think you are going to see someone who has, again, 12 years of experience as a detective, as a supervisor, makes things a little bit easier for everyone on shift to, let's say there's a homicide at a nightclub, and you show up and you approach that, and you're the boots on the ground, and the first one securing the scene. As a detective, I can go there and make sure that everything is blocked off the right way. Evidence is being held the correct way until detectives get there. Maybe I can even assist in getting interviews done. So that's already a built-in trait of mine because I've had the experience of being a detective. So I think that's going to help out in the long run of these young guys coming on. They may not know my face as much because I'm older and on day shift, but coming to midnights, it's about getting to learn who these people are, officers are that are new on the job. They don't know who Brendan Bole is, but if I can relate to them and find out what their personal life is like and again, personalize that experience, that's huge. I think that leads towards being able to lead people as if they believe that they have a leader that's going to support them.
Tell me about a time when you were forced to make an unpopular decision. If there was
Forced to make an unpopular decision. There's quite a few, especially in the narcotic investigative game. It's hard. You're dealing with multiple agencies. You're dealing with the courts, whether it's federal, whether it's state. You're dealing with the state police, sheriff's department, FBI, DEA. So when you start these investigations, you map out a chart of how things are going to go. Throughout that time of investigating, sometimes things go awry a little bit, and you voice your opinion. I think we should do it this way. Another agency says, no, we should do it that way. As a lead case officer, you really got to fight and communicate for that on what's the common ground. So again, there's been numerous times of that with drug investigations. Again, it's one of those things over the past 12 years. This job as a detective has really been almost every single day. You're making decisive decisions, and again, it may not go against what is popular. Kicking in a door, having to detain somebody, but in the end, communicating with people, letting them know this is the reason what's going on. There's been multiple times where we go to a fight or a stabbing or shooting, and the crowd you get there as a detective, and the crowd is really amped up. You got to be able to talk and make it known that you're there to help and protect, and really try to calm that situation down.
Describe your approach to develop and maintaining an effective chain of command.
Well, as I've said from the beginning, I think communication is huge. The role of the sergeant is to be that in-between between officers and the public, officers and the lieutenant. I think it's a great way for sergeants to really, again, get to know the officer that you're supervising, getting to know what's going on in their life, encouraging them, but also trying to keep the flow of unnecessary complaints up the chain. So I think, again, trying to be as personable as best, with kind of an understanding that things happen for a reason, but also not be afraid to, discipline somebody when needed. And that helps with that flow of chain of command.
How would you handle a situation where two members of the crew are in a disagreement over how to complete a task?
And how to complete a task? I think dealing with that all the time is, you gotta communicate with these guys. You gotta, one side, you gotta hear what they have to say. You have to hear what the other one has to say, and come to a mutual agreement. Again, I think I've been very lucky with my experience. There hasn't been many things that have happened that I have not seen or dealt with. It could range from a simple motor vehicle stop. It could range from a OUI stop all the way to a murder investigation. So there's been a lot of times that I've been put in that position to have to talk with another officer about how to handle this. As a supervisor, I'm going to take my experience and listen to both sides and see if we can work that out through conversation.
Is it back to me?
Yep.
Describe the most rewarding, this is the last question here. Describe the most rewarding experience of your career so far.
I gotta say the most rewarding so far was when the United Veterans of Holyoke nominated me as the Public Safety Officer of the Year. I thought that was not, I didn't think I deserved that at all. There were many other public safety officers that were more well-deserving than I. However, for them just even to think of me is a huge honor, and I really, really, really appreciate them thinking of me.
You have any questions for us?
I do not.
Or anything you want us to know that we didn't share or go over?
I think we're good.
Or the public to know?
Or the public to
Yeah,
know?
that's another day.
I do want to say, there really isn't any real right or wrong answer. Obviously, it's based on the skills you've developed and the training that you've developed, and you're going to be transitioning from patrol or an officer to now a leadership role of sergeant, and hopefully a very good and healthy and long career going up the ranks, lieutenant, captain, and maybe even one day the chief.
No.
And so, there's no wrong or right answer, but there's the best answer currently as you know it. But moving forward, this is a practice that's ever evolving.
Absolutely.
And what I'm trying to do, is as leadership turns over and people are getting ready to go to the next leadership role, is, we just want everybody to be the best prepared as possible. And I understand there's no perfect candidate, but we can get close to it. And, when you step into this role of sergeant, you're going to learn new things, and hopefully it'll be just what you need to be able to lead effectively, so that we're getting ready the next generation of leaders that are going to be hopefully moving up the ranks too, and either A, being good and effective officers, and when they do step up, that they're ready to take on the role of sergeant and so forth. So we want to, folks that are stepping into this role, get them trained up and ready to be as good as they can be, so that we are strengthening the pipeline in how we execute policing out of the police department in general, from traditional policing as we know it to the more proactive stuff that we also know and have been evolving on as well.
Absolutely.
So that we're keeping up with the needs and our goals as a city and protecting the greater public. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
12 years in it, and for sticking with the city of Holyoke, not leaving us.
Thank you.
But also pursuing growth within the department. I hope, we can continue to support you and help build you up so that you can be effective. And again, just having a good, healthy career in general here in the city of Holyoke.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Anything else, Chief?
No, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
And for all you do. I know, sorry.
It's a nice suit. My skin doesn't do well in the sun, and this weekend was bad. Yes, it's green.
Morning, Mayor. Afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Feeling comfortable?
As much as I can be, yeah. Always nerve-wracking.
I know. Tell me about it. First of all, thank you so much. We've been doing this kind of open public process since I started 3 years ago to achieve two objectives, really. I know, as you're probably aware, officers that are appointed into the department and people who move up ranks are under the control of the appointing authority of the mayor. Right? We do the promotions. And so to help build trusts and transparency, I shifted that process a little bit to make it more open so that people can observe and learn how the process is. As you're aware, civil service, we get the list from civil service.
Correct.
And it's the order of that list. Unless there's a reason to bypass, and civil service helps us navigate and kind of oversee and governs those reasons to make sure that we're hitting our targets. And not a lot of people know that process. It's always new. Every time I explain it to people, people are like, oh, really? I had no idea. So this helps educate the public. But most importantly for me is that it gives people an opportunity to meet the candidate.
Right.
So right now we're being recorded.
Okay.
And people get to watch this from home on the public access channel, and they get to meet Officer Gove, whom
Very good.
they might have never met before, and that's probably a good thing,
Yeah.
depending on the circumstance.
Right.
Or a good thing meeting because you saved their life and whatever the situation might be. But others that might have never got an opportunity to meet you. And then to know that you're going to be, you're pursuing the rank of sergeant, it gives the public an opportunity to get to meet you and know
Awesome.
you on a little bit more personal level. And it helps also with the image of the police department to show the public who's working for the city and again, personalize a little bit, humanize that the men and women that work there, these are our people working in there. They're human just like everybody else, and
Yep.
they're here to protect and serve.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We'll go myself, Kelly, the chief. Kelly Curran is our personnel director. Our police chief Keenan.
Chief.
There's no real, it's a tool that we use to, evaluate candidates and whatnot. But as you're aware, civil service is what it is. We don't use interviews as a reason to bypass candidates, but instead, kind of a two-way street here for us and for me, because I never get to work with you and but the chief gets to know you and help build you up, right? So depending on what your strengths, it helps kind of shape the vision and direction of how people are thinking and where they're going, and as well as far as how they understand certain things that are going to be asked. And then also for your own professional growth and development. Hopefully you have a long and healthy and successful career here in the city of Holyoke, and it's an evolving practice, policing.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that in your process, we're doing what we can to help guide you and train you so that you can become a better supervisor, a better officer, a better servant to the community. So with that being said, as far as the process is concerned, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Chief Keenan,
Sure.
want to go over the bio?
Sure. Officer Austin Gove, he's been working for the police department for 15 years. He was a records clerk in 2010, a dispatcher in 2012. Became a reserve officer in 2015 and a full-time officer in 2017. He's assigned to the day shift. Currently, he's on a military deployment for 3 years. He has 3 letters of appreciation for commendations. His sick time has been great over the years. Through the course of his career, he's missed a total of 13 months from being injured on duty, 6 months in 2023, and 7 months in 2019 to 2020. Officer Gove has 60 college credits, and he's taken a couple of MPTC instructor development classes.
Where at?
What was that, sir?
College.
AMU, American Military University. I completed my bachelor's in 2023, and by the end of this year, I should be done with my master's.
Sweet, congratulations.
Austin, I don't think we have that. We didn't have that.
bachelor's?
No, we didn't have that in your file, so if,
It's, I handed all the information in,
Okay,
but I'll
make sure
double
that
check
gets-
on that,
yeah.
absolutely.
Please do, because that's important. That's in your personnel file.
Yes, sir.
If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words, qualifications, experience you have that's going to make you successful in this career.
Sure. I was born in Springfield, grew up in Holyoke, attended Holyoke Public Schools until 7th grade. I had some family members that went to Northampton Public Schools. My parents decided that was the route for me, so I did school of choice from 7th grade on in Northampton Public Schools, graduated in 2008. After graduation, I knew I wanted law enforcement. I always wanted to be a cop, so went to HEC, studied criminal justice there. I worked as summer help in 2009 at Hampden County Correctional Facility. I was there for a year before I got a position in the records department here at the police department. Graduated HEC. As the chief said, started working here as records, got hired as dispatch after a couple years. 2013, I decided that I wanted to give more to not just the community, but the nation. So I enlisted in the Air Force Reserve Command, went to basic tech school, came back, started working as a dispatcher. Obviously took the civil service test, got hired as a reserve officer in 2015, did the reserve academy, graduated that while I was still working full-time as a dispatcher. 2016, I got the call that I was getting deployed to the Middle East. So I went to the Middle East. Actually, on my way in country, I got a call from the city offering me the full-time officer position here, which obviously I accepted and was very excited about, except had to go through a deployment before I could come back and go through the academy. When I came back, I was put on a waiver for a couple months on the dog watch as a full-time officer until I could attend the next academy. 2017, as the chief said, I attended the MPTC Academy, graduated there, was on 4 to 12 for most of my career, which was awesome because extremely fast-moving shift. Learned a lot of things, have to become an independent thinker as far as knowledge and getting through situations. Obviously still in the Air Force Reserves during that time, which I've had multiple promotions. 2020, as the chief said, I went to instructor development class, which I took. It was a 10-day course offered by the MPTC, helping me kind of navigate my public speaking and being able to teach within the police department as well as the MPTC. 2022, I did a 10-day detective basic course offered by the MPTC. And then 2023, I was grateful enough to be offered a spot in the firearms unit for teaching within the department. So since 2013 or 2023, I've been doing that. So PD side, that's what I've done, obviously, on the day shift now since 2023 as well. I've also helped on the detective on-call list since 2022 I've been on, helping the detectives during their on-call hours. And then as far as military, right now I'm currently, I just got promoted to an E8. I'm a squadron senior enlisted leader. My main duties are basically the training for 146 airmen, the planning and execution of that, as well as the financial plan and execution of that, and obviously for deployments from Westover Air Reserve Base. So it's a little about myself and my career PD and mill side.
I did summer help 1 year at Sheriff's Department too.
That was enough
Davis
for me.
Tower.
That was enough for me.
So you're currently on military deployment
Correct.
for 3 years?
Correct.
So you've been doing the the MTC training license?
Correct. Yep. I've kept up with all
All
my
stuff is coming.
all my yearly updates.
Oh, I thought
and
you
in
were
service.
doing the training for people.
No, I facilitate
facilitate.
the training and movements. Obviously, over the last couple of years, things have gotten intense around the world, and so I was brought on orders to basically mobilize the unit and get the unit ready for mobilization.
Okay.
Okay. Based on your experience in your current position, what two improvements would you make, and what would you do first and why?
Within the department itself, I think training is always an ever-evolving thing in law enforcement. There's always new strategies, obviously new laws coming out, new ways to do things, and I think having training, updated training, and training outside of the scope of just the MPTC is extremely important. There's a lot of private contractors that are out there now that specialize in law enforcement training, and I think obviously budgetary issues are always at the front hold with things of that nature, but I think that's very important. I think also training within the city with the police department, the fire department, Cataldo. Most of the calls that we go to, usually they're there, and we have kind of minimal training with them. We've done some stuff over at the mall a couple of years back, but I think it's important to include them in some of our training aspects as well. I think the second thing, as the chief mentioned, I was injured twice and pretty drastic hand injuries with that while working, and I think we as police officers see hundreds of traumatic events through over our career, and I think the mental health aspect, as far as having someone there to reach out, just to vent, just to have those avenues in place when these events occur, I think are extremely important to helping, I think, retain officers, which is, I know you asked for two, but a third thing, helping officers navigate those stressors and those kind of incidents that do happen over a 32 plus year career, can save them in the long run, mentally and physically.
Austin, what are the biggest challenges to policing currently, in your opinion, and how would you address them in your command?
As I just, retention is obviously a big one, and I think that's across the country. Not just retention, but individuals entering the career field. I think getting out there and speaking more to the community about what policing is, what we do, showing that it's not a, we'll say, scary career field to enter, that there are a lot of positives to it, and the community does appreciate what we do here on a daily basis. I think that's a big one.
What do you think is the biggest professional responsibility between police patrol officer and the role of supervisor as sergeant? And how have you prepared yourself for more decision making?
Yeah, as a patrol supervisor, you're a frontline supervisor, you're there. You're who patrol officers look to day in and day out, those calls for service. They're putting their trust in you that you are knowledgeable and will make the right decision. I think you need to earn that from the patrol officers. I don't think it's given just by rank. I think the respect is there, but I think the actual not respecting their decision, but trusting that they are making the right decision is paramount. As far as what I think I have gained off of my police and military experience, I think as a police officer, I had trained some of the newer guys before we even had a FTO program. So I felt that supervisors thought I was competent enough to do that. I think I am competent enough to do that. And obviously, my military career, the position I'm in, I've been supervising individuals since 2017 when I made staff sergeant and I was given 5 airmen. Now I'm in the role of 146 airmen. And when I was on patrol, I never stepped away from commanding a scene if there wasn't a supervisor that wasn't there. I have no problem commanding that scene and letting officers, kind of giving them direction, and I never really got pushback from officers from that. So I think it would, everything in my past and what has led up to, I think, would make a good transition from a patrol officer to a patrol supervisor.
Officer Gove, one of the top priorities of the mayor's administration is to implement DEI strategies and best practice citywide. Can you please tell us what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you? How can you support this initiative within the police department?
Yeah, I think DEI, it takes away the bias of any, decision making. I think it helps mirror our community, whether in the workplace or a citizen calling the police department for service shouldn't get treated one way or another dependent on any factor. Everyone's equal. Everyone bleeds the same blood, has the same blood. There's no reason for any kind of difference of interaction or opportunity based on one factor or another.
I think especially in today's climate, DEI is getting lost in the translation and being perceived as a negative. I think people are not understanding the basic idea of what it means. And you just said it's personal bias. We all have it, all of us, including me. We're all raised differently. We all, have different, that's so much better. Until it gets
Makes
hot.
it a lot easier.
Until it gets hot, then you start sweating. We're all in different environments, and so we grow with different perceptions of how we see the world, right? And so then you go out into the world, and you realize there are people who are different from your own perspectives. And so DEI, in its truest form, really is to help people understand. It's not to treat people differently, to your point. It's equally, right? Like we're all need the same blood. Is to understand. I remember when I was in Westfield State, I got my bachelor's in psychology. You learn all about sociology, like different groups and how people navigate their environments. Mm-hmm. Is to understand the groups and individuals we work with, whether if it's our work colleague or the public that we serve, and how to best understand the circumstance that we're in at the moment, whether if it's an issue with a colleague, how did we get here? What's that person's view in this issue or whatever? And then hopefully come to a better conclusion, you know what I mean? So I appreciate how you answered the question. Thank you. I know it's tough even to ask the question because it's so politically charged and perceived as a negative, but really the intent here is to get people to understand each other better so we can work better together when we talk about the issue. So I appreciate your answer.
I think especially, in law enforcement and in the military, there's no time for thinking like that because we rely on one another. If I'm fighting for my life, I don't care anything about the person that's coming as long as I can trust them, and I don't think any biases or stereotypes should be involved in anything, honestly.
Beyond because when there's an incident, I think the system starts working, right? But beyond that, like there's protocols and everything, and everyone engages, and then everyone does their job, and they do it well. We're talking about other things, like again, workplace relationships
Right.
with other people. It could be different age group, a different time and era of how things used to be done versus today. It can be, a culture and what language people speak or whatever. But you're right. Like when there's an incident, your work colleagues are going to show up,
Right.
and people are going to do
That-
what you're trained to do.
Right. That's why it's
yeah.
tough for me to even think that why people would think like that because of, the profession we're in and stuff. We just don't see it. We don't have it, or expect not to have it. That's why it's tough to see it, in the community and in
Yeah.
workplaces and what have you, so.
All right.
That was the chief question. Is it your turn? Yeah.
I think so. As a supervisor in the Holyoke Police Department, how will you handle the change in your professional and personal life?
I think the change will be, obviously, they're reliant on you, patrol officers are reliant on you, where if you're just a senior patrolman, yes, they're relying on you, but ultimately you don't make that final decision. I mean, you could, but in the end-all, be-all, it's not up to you. So I think moving into that supervisory role, that's what comes with it.
That's for your professional. How about your personal life?
Personal life, the biggest thing, is probably shift work, depending on, where you go. I think that's the hardest, going to be extremely difficult. I think, based with my military and what have you, building that professional and personal relationship as far as outside of work, I believe I have a very strong handle on that. Unfortunately, military side, I've had to give friends paperwork that I don't want to do, but you have to follow the rules and you have to do what you're told as far as rules and regulations, and if you don't follow those, there are consequences. So I think personal-wise, the biggest thing is going to be, if I go to overnights, it's a big change from obviously day shift patrol. I'm married, 3 young children, so it's going to be tough. But that's why you have, or hopefully build a strong resource around you, and outlets that can kind of ease that tension in that transition.
Thank you.
Another administrative priority I have is to create a system of accountability, professional development, which includes implementing some sort of, system of performance evaluations. So if you were taking on this role, how would you evaluate the individual officers and the department as a whole? If you can explain how you would go about creating a culture of accountability in the police department.
I think if there were yearly or biannually peer reviews, I think that would be a big step. I think not only what you've done as a, we'll say, patrol officer or even a sergeant, but what you want to do in the future, what you need to do to try to accomplish those goals. I think that's would be a big step. I think, having that mentorship and having mentors that not necessarily put something on paper, but will sit with you monthly, quarterly, to just sit down and talk about how things are going and, obstacles you may have had or you could see in the future and how to navigate through those. I think that would be a big step in retention as well. I think officers and, people just want to feel heard. And I think having something in place where you are feeling heard, obviously you're not going to help everyone. Not everyone's going to like that either, but it is something put in place. And as far as a department, Climate surveys are used very often, especially within my squadron, as far as, you know, how the climate is. What do you think is going good? What do you think is going bad? And obviously it's unanimous, so you don't know who is saying what, but you're still getting that info. Obviously, it needs to be vetted, but I think those would be a couple good ideas.
Well, they're good.
From your years of working in the HPD, what are some of the management workplace challenges, and how would you go about overcoming and solving these challenges?
Yeah, Chief, I believe
honest.
kind of what I, what was that?
Be honest.
I think honestly, kind of what I just hit on, I think those, peer reviews and having, that mentor to kind of guide you in the right direction you want to go, I think that will help, like I said, people being heard. I think that helps the retention, and once you have that retention, you have openings in these specialized units. And there can be movement within the department. It's tough to have movement in a department when you're constantly, fighting for people to stay, or even, hire individuals. So I think that's a big part of it. And I think the chief's done a great job as far as implementing, the physical aspect of it, updating the gym, letting members, work out there, I think is a big step in getting that positive outlook within the department.
Can you describe the relationship that should exist between the sergeant and those reporting to you? What experience do you have in leading a team of people?
Extremely professional. Obviously, you need to be a human. But when rubber hits the road and it's time to work and it's time to make decisions, that relationship needs to be there where, again, patrol officers are going to trust that you are making that right decision and they are going to listen, because sometimes time is not of the essence, and when an order is given, it needs to be followed through, or there can be negative results from that. As far as leading individuals, as I stated before, I think when I was in patrol and I, would take over calls and instruct officers where to go or what to do, I think that plays a role in it. Obviously, my military, basically being in charge of a 146-man unit, I'd like to think I have gotten the skills to manage individuals.
Could you tell us about a time when you ever had to make an unpopular decision?
It's most of the career. Most of the people don't call us when things are going well. As far as one situation, I can't. It's never a good thing when we have to go into someone's household and remove them. Whether it be by a judge's order for substance abuse issues or mental health issues, or if it's by arrest. Family members usually are not happy with us being there and removing an individual from their household. So I think the short answer is I think I've had a lot in my career over the last 10 years in patrol as far as unpopular decisions.
Austin, describe your approach to developing and maintaining an effective chain of command.
Chain of command is huge. Communication is one of the most vital parts in our organization, and I think if there is a lapse of chain of command, things can be negatively impacted. I think to have that chain of command, you need to actively represent that and let individuals know actually what that chain of command is, and set that precedence, because if they don't know, it's your fault as a frontline supervisor not giving those individuals the right tools necessary to know that chain of command. So I think implementing, the biggest thing is talking about it and letting individuals know what their chain of command is.
Okay.
How would you handle a situation where two members of the crew are in disagreement over how to complete a task?
First, sitting down with both of them, obviously getting both opinions or both sides of each member's story together, all three of us, so that everyone is being heard and there's not a, he said, she said kind of thing going on. I think me as if I was the supervisor, I listened to both parts, and then I would come up with a decision based on both of their statements, and obviously I would have to go with one or the other, but I would also explain why I made that decision and what got me to that decision, so that there was no, we'll say, bias of why I took one person's side compared to another, so that everyone was on the same page as to why we got to the end result.
What's the most rewarding experience in your career?
Man, that's a good one. Day in, day out is awesome. Anytime there's a positive interaction with the public is great. There was a time, there was a call over on Resnick, and I remember it was a 7-year-old child who ended up stopping a bystander. His uncle, who was in the house, who was had a lot of health issues, had fallen and was seizing, and he ended up stopping someone. They called 911, and I was one of the first responding officers there, and I helped his uncle, and his uncle ended up living, and ever since that experience, that child loved law enforcement and wanted to be a cop. And actually his father reached out to the department a couple months after the fact, and myself and the other assisting officer that went there were able to meet with the child, give him some HPD swag, take a picture with him, and kind of just talk about the job with them, and just get
community members that are interactive and want to hear more about our job, and just happy for us being out there. Those are the best experiences for me.
That's a good one. Anything else you want to share we might have not covered or gone over that we might have missed? Or
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak to you all and have this interview, and hopefully take the next leap in my law enforcement career and start a new chapter.
I want to wish you luck, and I have to say, again, 15 years in the department, I appreciate you sticking with us here in the city of Holyoke and also pursuing growth within the department. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I know it's a little complicated in policing everywhere, and I'm hoping that if there's anything that I can do, that we can do on our end, and me, Chief, and I talk about this all the time, is what are the small things that we can do to make people have a good experience working for the city of Holyoke.
Right.
And I talk about that with every department head, right? Like, people are in charge of the given department here. We're talking about the police department. Things like cleaning the building. I know he likes to parade around.
Yeah.
better lighting, right? The basics, and then obviously training, direction, guidance, strengthening the chain of command and protocol, and implementing policy and tools and equipment. So we're going to keep doing what we can. But again, thank you for sticking with us here in the city.
I love the city. Grew up here,
Thank
so
you.
appreciate it.
You got it. Good luck.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
did you guys want to say anything?
No, good job.
No,
Austin.
thank you.
Thank you, Austin.
Have a great day.
You too. That kid's dialed in. Oh.
Hey, Officer Golding, how we doing?
Well, how are you, sir?
Not bad. Comfortable?
As I will be.
Mayor Garcia, Police Chief Keenan to my right, who had to step out shortly, briefly, is our Personnel Director, Kelly Curran. We're going to ask you a series of questions here, and just to give you a quick rundown, 3 years ago when I started, I made a decision to make this process a public one. Promoting or recruiting new officers are under the purview and control of the mayor, of the sitting mayor. And for transparency purposes, there's a lot of, you got people in the public or even within the department that might not necessarily know how we get to decisions. And so I thought that having this process open and transparent would allow folks to understand how civil service works. Obviously, I think, as you're aware, civil service takes precedent. We follow the order of the lists, and we also recruit or promote within that order unless there's a reason to bypass a candidate, and then that list remains effective during a certain period of time, and as positions become open, we continue to go down that list. But I think, my favorite part of this process, most important for me, is that the public, we are being recorded. Folks will get to see this recording online or on the public access channel at home. They get to meet the people that are working at the police department, and particularly those that are stepping into leadership roles. It humanizes our officers. It helps build more trust between the public and the police department, and and so that it helps us strengthen that component. But and then also, I think the third impact here that I hope this process does is it helps set the expectation a little bit. How you answer these questions, and I'll tell you that there really isn't any right or wrong answer, and and how you answer them. There's the best answer based on your current knowledge and experiences and how you can answer a question, right? But also, policing's a practice. Supervisory roles it's a practice, forever evolving as you continue to build experience. I want this opportunity to be a learning experience for you, for your own professional growth and development, for you as a person who's growing into the profession in policing. And, selfishly, I hope that you have a long and excellent career here in the city of Holyoke, but obviously understand wherever you go, we want to make sure that you're prepared and so that you can do well, period. And that way we get to know you, we get to meet you, and the chief gets to, we all get to learn a little about you through this process. And, as you continue to develop and grow, you're going to be surrounded by people, including the chief, that are going to continue to help guide you through so that you're getting closer to being a better supervisor. But with that being said, as far as the process is concerned, do you have any questions at all?
I don't think so.
Chief is going to start, give us a quick introduction of who you are.
Hey, Matt, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Detective Matt Guling, he was a dispatcher for the town of Hadley. In 2014, was hired as a police officer in the town of Hadley in 2015, became a Holyoke Reserve officer in 2017, a full-time Holyoke officer in 2019. He's currently a detective in the 4 to 12 shift. He has no disciplinary complaints in his file. He has 2 letters of commendation, 2 sick days since he's been here, great sick time, no injured on duty time. Has an associate's degree in criminal justice, operates a Cellbrite machine, took a crime scene processing course and the MPTC instructor development class in 2020.
Detective Golding, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words, what qualifications, experience do you have that will make you successful in this career?
Sure. My name, as you know, is Matt Guling. I am a product of the city of Holyoke. I was born and raised in Holyoke. I went to Ian White. I was a part of the last graduating class from Lynch Middle School, and then I went to Holyoke Catholic High School for high school in Chicopee. After high school, I attended Holyoke Community College, where I earned my associate's degree in criminal justice, and then continued on to Westfield State, where I've earned credits towards my bachelor's degree.
You're working toward it currently, or you have it?
Working towards my bachelor's. When I was attending Westfield State, I was working full-time, and starting in high school, I started working for an office in Springfield, an ophthalmologist, and I continued to work for them full-time. And as the chief said, in 2014, I was hired as a part-time dispatcher in the town of Hadley while I was attending criminal justice classes at Holyoke Community College. And I continued to work full-time and part-time while balancing the coursework. After graduating from HCC, I started attending Westfield State, and the town of Hadley gave me the opportunity to attend the part-time police academy, working full-time and part-time. I couldn't balance being in school and the academy, so I chose to attend the part-time academy, which kind of cut off my bachelor's degree there for the moment. I continued to work part-time, full-time, and working for the town of Hadley while attending the Reserve Academy. After attending the Reserve Academy, I became a part-time officer in the town of Hadley in 2015. I continued to work full-time for the office in Springfield. In that time, I was kind of changing my roles there and took on a role of kind of their infrastructure. I was put in charge of finding and implementing an electronic medical record system for them, which was a quite lengthy and expensive project. And then I was tasked with one of the roles involved in them merging 2 large practices in with us. In 2016, I was offered a full-time position with the Hadley Police Department as an officer. I took that position and I worked on a waiver until attending the full-time MPTC Police Academy in 2017 with Officer Gove, actually. I continued to work full-time leading up until the academy, and in that time I started working as a reserve officer here in the city of Holyoke. 2017, I attended the Western Mass Police Academy at Stick and was our class president. I continued to serve the town of Hadley in a full-time capacity while serving in the reserve capacity here in the city of Holyoke until 2019. Between 2017 and 19, when I was in Hadley full-time, I was responsible for their grant administration. So while I was there, I handled all of their 911 grants, several of their traffic safety grants through the state, from application through seeing the deployments and the purchasing and reimbursement process, and have kind of guided them along the way since leaving in 2019. I still give them some advisory role stuff, just covering the knowledge that I learned while I was there. Since joining the Holyoke Police Department full-time in 2019, I was assigned to the 4 to midnight shift, which, as I'm sure the chief has told you and will tell you, is a very busy shift. You get a lot of experience very quickly. And I believe it was 2022, I was given the opportunity to join the on-call detective program. I received training in crime scene response and such, and in May of 2023, I was moved to the Detective Bureau and have been in the Detective Bureau on the 4 to midnight shift since. I have been a part of just about any type of investigation you can think of, from homicides to missing persons, to wandering elderly people, shoplifting, anything else that you can probably think of. The city of Holyoke has a lot to offer. Over the past couple years, the department has capitalized on my previous IT experience. I've helped our IT officers in the meantime part-time with various projects, from managing our last system to implementing our newest records management and dispatch system, all while balancing my own roles. Prior to being assigned to the Detective Bureau, I was very briefly assigned to the Traffic Bureau while still on patrol. And in that time, I also, before we had a official field training program, served as what we refer to as mentors to newer officers, helping bring on several officers over the years before I was off the road and in the Detective Bureau. Since being in the Detective Bureau, as the Chief said, I've attended multiple different trainings and certifications. I'm an MPTC certified instructor. I am a Celebrate examiner and analyst, meaning that I can extract data from electronic devices, phones, computers, storage devices, and such. And I am a certified sexual assault investigator. Hopefully that's the longest answer I have to give you.
That's great. Very impressive. Thank you.
Based on your experience in your current position, what 2 improvements would you make? What would you do first and why?
For myself, or I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. I would say that one of the things that I struggle with for myself is I can be very critical of myself. I am a big critiquer. I think that you learn from your mistakes, and if you went back to my childhood, my parents would tell you that I had a fast pass in the emergency room, and I think that scars teach you a lesson, whether it is something you intended or not. And second, I think that I need to continue to work on my communication skills. I often struggle with asking for help. As you could probably tell by my brief biography there, I sometimes take off more than I probably should at a single time, and I need to get better at asking for assistance in lessening that load sometimes, just to be more effective and productive.
Detective Golding, what are the biggest challenges to policing currently, in your opinion, and how would you address them in your command?
Sure. So I'm sure that you guys will all be very surprised by this answer, but I think that one of the biggest problems that we have is a cross between the community interaction, retention, and outreach, or onboarding of new officers. I think over the past 10 years since I've been in policing, the climate overall in policing has changed immensely. When I got hired in 2014, 2015, there was a lot of people knocking at the door wanting to become cops. And the cops that were cops didn't want to leave. You were aging out cops. I think that in the last 5 to 10 years, that has really changed. I think that communities and departments are really struggling to get a buy-in from the public to want to be police officers because the salaries compared to jobs that they can get in the private sector are low, and the amount that they're facing and the pressure that they're facing just isn't worth it to people. And I think that people have a very big misperception on what policing is and what the job looks like. And I think that as a department and as a community, we can probably work with showing the public what the policing world actually looks like, what the responsibilities of a police officer is, and make it a more enticing job to get the most qualified and the best candidates who want to get into policing, and then once they're there, make it a comfortable job for them, that they have growth personally and professionally, that it is a career for them that can sustain their home life, but also give them a professional goal at the end.
What do you think is the biggest professional responsibility between the police patrol officer role and the supervisor as sergeant? And how have you prepared yourself for more decision making?
Sure. Being in the detective bureau is a blessing and a curse. The patrol officers, for the most part, they look to you once you get on scene to see what you want to do next. A lot of the supervisors know that a lot of the detectives have a wide variety of experience, and it's not uncommon for even the patrol supervisors to come asking for just advice and a little bit of expert knowledge. So I think that I've prepared myself over the last couple of years with building a knowledge base and connections with outside agencies to really have an understanding of a vast understanding of some of the intricacies of policing. And I will say that over the last couple of years that I am often approached by officers or supervisors just looking for advice or to talk through a situation on how to best handle it. So I think that I have built a name for myself that I can be a knowledgeable resource, and if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to fake my way through the answer, and I'm going to go find it because I want to have the answer for next time. I think that that's an important role of a sergeant, on top of being able to develop the relationship with your subordinates who respect you enough to come to you when they need a professional answer or a personal answer.
One of the top priorities of Mayor Garcia's administration is to implement DEI strategies and best practices citywide. Please tell us what diversity, equity, and inclusion means to you. How can you support this initiative within the police department?
Sure. So I think that DEI overall is kind of a misunderstood practice, and truly I'm not going to say that I am an expert in it at all. I think that Holyoke is a very diverse community, and the Holyoke Police Department is a very diverse department already. I think in the world of public safety and policing especially, there is a need for blindness across the board of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or who somebody chooses to love. When it comes to candidates, I think that candidate-wise, in policing, you need the best candidate for a position, and that best candidate for the position can be based off some of their background and their history and some of their learned experiences personally. But I think that in the whole, the justice system is blind for a reason, that we want to give people the best opportunities and what they have earned and deserve based off their credentials. At the same time, it is important that the community that we represent is represented. So I think it's a delicate balance. I think that the biggest part of diversifying our department is to really work with the community, to give the community a respect and understanding of what the police department does, so that we can get the diverse members of our community to want to buy into being a part of our community and our police department, and giving us the best candidates to help serve in the police department.
As a supervisor in the Hoyoke Police Department, how will you handle the change in your professional and personal life?
I think professionally it will be an adjustment. I think that I have a good relationship with most of my peers and most of my supervisors, and I think that it is a delicate balance trying to find a way to continue those friendships and relationships while also having to support the needs of the department and the needs of the new role. I think that if I were to be promoted, one of the first things that I would strive to do is to gain the respect of my subordinates. Well, I think that it's important to have the respect of your equals and obviously of your superiors. If the people that are answering to you don't respect you and don't respect the answers that you're giving them, then you're not going to be successful in your role. Excuse me. So I think that really one of the first things that I try to do is get the buy-in from the people that I'm supervising and earn their respect and trust, because without that, the efficacy of your supervision is going to be significantly less.
Okay. That was professional and personal.
Personal. I am married, but I do not have any children, so luckily my wife understands that professionally the role kind of requires a lot of change in hours and a lot of long hours and unpredictability. Personally, I think I try to live a life outside of here of high morals and high integrity anyway, and it would be continuing that to ensure that nothing in my personal life would jeopardize the respect of the Hoyoke Police Department or the role that I've earned.
Great answer.
Another administrative priority we have here under our leadership is to create a system of accountability and professional development, which includes implementing performance evaluations. If you take on this role, how would you evaluate individual officers in the department as a whole? Explain how you'd go about creating a culture of accountability within the police department.
Sure. Chief, I don't mean to target you in this one. This is just an overview. I think that it starts from the top down. I think that right now in the department, there's not necessarily under this leadership at all, just there's a misconception that there's different rules for different people, including supervisors down. So I think that one of the most important things would be to earn the respect of the process, whatever the process is that's implemented from the top down, so that officers that are on the road can see that they're being held to the same high standards that are set by those above them. I think that as you rise in the ranks, the standards and the expectations for you rise as well. I think that right now there's a big misconception that it's the other way around, that some of the supervisors skate by a little bit, where some of the officers feel that they're held to a higher standard, are being targeted for things. So I think that it's kind of a two-part process of implementing something and then getting a buy-in from the top down. I know that that is above the patrol sergeant level. So on the patrol sergeant level, I think that one of the best things, or most effective things, would be to become a resource for the officers, not only under me, but the other officers that are on the street, to give someone that they feel confident and the ability to come seek answers from or advice from. And I think that giving them feedback, whether it's just in report writing or little ways that they can improve their skills and their knowledge, to hopefully encourage them to be more productive members of the department.
From your years of working in the HPD, what are some of the management workplace challenges, and how would you go about overcoming and solving these challenges?
Sure. I think that one of the biggest challenges that we have, obviously, is with the staffing levels. I know that that is not a situation unique to the Hoyoke Police Department. It is not a situation that is going to get solved overnight, and it is obviously a much broader issue. But I think over the past 5 or 10 years, as we've seen staffing levels fluctuate, we've had circumstances where it's created a pinning of people or units against one another. whether it's patrol officers feeling like detectives are being taken care of or given extra perks or time off, or not carrying their load, or officers on one shift feeling like they're covering the shifts for other officers more frequently than their shifts are getting covered. I think that one of the biggest challenges and aspects there is kind of fixing some of that camaraderie and repairing the relationships within the department so that everyone feels like they're on the same team, because it's already hard enough to go out into the public and have the public coming behind your back. Sometimes it feels by officers. You don't need to have that feeling from the internal department as well. You need to feel safe and like you are a respected member of the department across the board.
Can you describe the relationship that should exist between the sergeant and those reporting to you? What experience do you have in leading a team of people?
Sure. I think that the sergeant, the frontline supervisor, or the first level supervisor is kind of a delicate balance between having a respectable friendship and professional relationship with your subordinates, but also being able to implement rules and regulations and make sure that they're overseen. So I think that there's a difficult balance of becoming someone's no longer peer that they respect and friend that they respect, but a supervisory member that can make sure that they are still doing their job effectively and appropriately, but still carry on a relationship that they feel trusted enough to be sought out, whether it's for advice, personally or professionally. I will say that I've been given various roles over the years, whether it's been in policing or when I was working for the private practice in Springfield, that I was often being placed in a position of supervising tasks and roles of people who are much older than I am, or I was at the time. And I think that my approach to it has always been trying to do it with respect and integrity. If I'm going to expect somebody to do something, then I'm going to do it myself, and I'm not going to expect somebody to do something that I myself wouldn't do. And I have no problem explaining to people why I'm asking them to do something or why something is being done. And I'm open to criticism, and I'm open to hearing that there are probably better ways to do things and that I don't have all the answers.
Tell me about a time when you were forced to make an unpopular decision.
One time I could probably come up with 50. Any day in policing is full of unpopular decisions. I would say that some of the most unpopular decisions are the hardest ones to come across, are often the unpopular decisions with children. When you're faced with calls for service with children who love their parents and don't want to see anything happen to their parents, but their parents have done something wrong, even to the children, it's heartbreaking, and it's often difficult to balance that emotional part with trying to do what's best for the child. A couple weeks ago, we had a house with deplorable conditions. The children were exposed to things that they absolutely should not have been. And removing those children from a situation with their parent, who they just wanted to be with, is always a difficult task and a difficult thing to have to do. Sorry, was that a two-part that I missed part of it?
Nope, that was not a two-part. Thank you.
Describe your approach to developing and maintaining an effective chain of command.
Sure. So when I started in policing, I was very green to the chain of command and the paramilitary setting of a police agency. I kind of didn't understand it, and I didn't understand the need to it. But over the years, I quickly understood that there are a lot of moving pieces to a police agency and to the police world. I think that one of the biggest parts of the chain of command, again, is earning the respect and trust of your subordinates and your superiors, and to build a relationship that you feel comfortable and confident in the ability to speak with your subordinates and your superiors to ensure that you're effective in carrying out your message of the needs of the members and of the department. I think that it's also important to recognize that decisions are going to be made above you, and sometimes they're in the best interest of something that you haven't learned and understood yet. I think that took me a long time to understand, but it's come back true time and time again that people are in leadership positions because of their experience and their knowledge, and sometimes you have to trust it even though at the time it doesn't feel like it's the right thing to you.
How would you handle a situation where two members of your crew are in a disagreement over how to complete a task?
Sure. I think that that's not something that's uncommon or unlikely. The police world is full of type A personalities, and everyone thinks their way is the right way. It's just a fact of the nature. When you're out there and having to make decisions that affect people's lives, you often feel very strongly and very confidently in your opinion. I think that the most important part in a situation like that is speaking with both members individually and trying to understand and comprehend why they feel the way that they do, and understand their thought process and make them feel like their thoughts and their experiences are being respected. And then probably try to speak with both individuals together and see if a common ground can be found, and if not, make a decision and let them know or explain to them why that decision was made and how you came to that decision and what the basis of knowledge or the law was that guided to that decision being made, so that next time hopefully they will have an understanding to make that decision on their own.
Thank you.
Can you describe the most rewarding experience in your career so far?
Sure. There are a lot of rewarding moments over the years. I think that some of the most impactful, like community moments, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe it might have been longer than that, in the height of what a lot of people felt was an anti-police sentiment. There was a group of us that were called to South Holyoke where we had seen a large mistrust in the police, and we were often being heckled by the adults and the children alike when we arrived on calls asking us to get out of the neighborhood. On a very warm, humid, hot summer night, we were called to an alleyway in South Holyoke for a disturbance, and we learned that it was a gentleman that was abusing a child out in the public in front of multiple people. That gentleman ended up fighting us as we arrested him, and as we put him in the cruiser for him to be driven away, the residents were standing on the back porches cheering us on and celebrating us arresting him and thanking us. And that is one of those moments that just sticks out in your head in even some of the toughest times, that if you do what's right and you stick by following what you are supposed to be doing, that you can still buy in members of the public and earn their trust and respect.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us that maybe we haven't gone over you'd like to share?
I don't think so. I appreciate the ability to be here and be a part of this process. I know a couple years ago when this started, everyone questioned why this was necessary, seeing as you said, Mr. Mayor, the process is largely set by civil service, but I think that it's a great opportunity for us as police officers to not only introduce ourselves to the public, but to yourself. And with Chief Keenan coming from Springfield, I think it's great for him to have a little bit better of an understanding of who we are in the department and who he has working under him.
Yeah, and I just have to say and share that you have a very unique way of looking at things, and it's really good, actually. Your approach in trying to evaluate and understand and how that can affect, and that's we need more of that kind of leadership for sure. I think you hit the nail on the head on many things. One being, at so many levels, you kept using the word, there's a misperception of X and a misperception of Y. There's always more than what people can see or meets the eye. And even at the example you gave at the end, how the public perceived policing because of what's happening everywhere, and why that might be. And but when there's a time and a moment of need, how so we constantly have to educate, be professional in our response, be consistent how we, those are the very things that we try to do on my end across the board for every department, all the work that we do. And going back to my earlier opening statement and why we're doing the process this way, open and transparent, is so that we can help curb those misperceptions about how we make a decision when people step into a role in leadership, but also humanizing the candidate for the public so they get to learn and get to know folks, including me. I don't get to work with you. I don't get to see you guys out there. This is reassuring for me that you work to hear your answers and to know that you're working at the Holyoke Police Department. And so I appreciate your take and your approach, and also for continuing to work in the Holyoke Police Department and pursuing career growth here. I hope that we're doing whatever we can to make your experience here a good one. And I know that you shared with us that you're married, and maybe one day there is children in your future. I want to wish you well in your own personal growth, and a healthy one at that. So thank you so much. Callis, Chief, do you have any questions, comments?
Good job, Detective.
You did a great job.
Nice meeting you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Very good job, and thank you, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, that now concludes our interview. Scott, I think we could end it. Just for anybody that's watching from home, that's our process. We interviewed 3 candidates for 1, 2, 3 open positions? For 1 open position in the police department for the position of sergeant. Unless there's a reason to bypass, we go in the order of which you saw the interview today. That came from the civil service list. That list remains active for a certain period of time, and as positions become available, the number 2 candidate, the following candidates after the number 1 fill those roles and so forth. And so thank you so much, Chief and Kelly, for being part of this process. I wish the candidates well, and looking forward to work with our men and women in the department and continue the important work we do for the community. Thank you.